You never expect the blade from the hand you fed. You watch their eyes light up when you win, and you think it's pride. But later, you realize it was envy. They cheered while you bled for them, laughed while you carried their weight. And when you turned your back to guard their name, that's when they carved yours from the wall. They smiled in daylight and carved me in the dark. It wasn't the enemy that broke me. Enemies announce themselves. They aim where they know you're strong. But friends, they aim for where you're soft, where you're open, where your guard is down because you believed in them. It wasn't war that shattered me. It was the whisper, "I've got your back." No, they didn't kill me. They muted me, took my voice, tied it to a lie, then threw silence over it like dirt on a grave. And I laid there, not dead, just erased, forgotten by those I would have bled for, mocked by those who used to clap when I spoke. You see, I was taught to trust, but they taught me why I shouldn't, because silence is not peace, it's exile, and I was buried alive in it. But here's the thing about silence. It listens, it learns, it remembers, and in that silence, I heard the truth louder than their lies. I heard who I really was, not who they painted me to be, not the fool, not the shadow, but the storm they tried to contain and failed. They didn't silence me, they sharpened me. Every scream I swallowed turned into fire. I didn't fight them, I fought myself. Because the battlefield wasn't out there, it was in here, where my own thoughts clawed at me louder than their voices ever did. I wasn't silent because I had nothing to say. I was silent because every word I could have spoken would have burned everything down. They thought silence was surrender. It wasn't. It was survival. A quiet man is not a broken man. He's sharpening. I was chaining the monster to the wall. Every day, every night, feeding it silence, starving it of vengeance. But the chain, it started to rust, not from weakness, but from waiting. I sat in the dark with voices louder than screams, and I realized silence doesn't heal wounds. It teaches you how to use them. I stared at the ceiling, not the sky, because even hope felt like mockery. They prayed I'd move on. I didn't. I transformed. They wanted me to break, but breaking would have been merciful. Instead, I built a cage around the storm and waited, because even hell bows to the patient. They mistook my silence for defeat, but silence was the first move on the board. While they laughed, I listened. While they shouted to be seen, I studied from the shadows. I unlearned every lie they fed me, stripped every illusion from my skin, and stitched truth into the place where doubt used to live. I didn't lose my voice. I rewired it. I didn't fade. I was reforged. They screamed for attention. I vanished, so I could return as something they couldn't ignore. They hunted applause. I hunted clarity. Because real power doesn't echo, it erupts. I didn't need a crown. I became the kingdom. I didn't need revenge. I needed precision. And in that silence, I became sharp, focused, unforgiving, not lost, not broken, just waiting. While they built empires of noise, I crafted silence into a sword. And now, every word I speak is a cut. Every Every breath I take is a reminder that silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. So no, silence wasn't my prison, it was my weapon, and now it's aimed at everything they once held sacred. Silence taught me to see what noise hides. When the world went quiet, I saw the masks fall, the smiles crack, the eyes shift, and suddenly, everything became clear. Their screams couldn't mask their fear. Their laughter couldn't hide their envy. Their applause was hollow, their praise poisoned. And I stopped performing, stopped begging to be understood. I stopped trying to explain myself and started building myself. I no longer needed permission. I needed precision. Not approval strategy, not acceptance alignment. They wanted a reaction. I gave them a reckoning. They called me unpredictable, but every move I made was calculated. Every step I took was surgical. I became quiet like loaded guns, still like the eye of a hurricane, deadly like a king with nothing left to lose. I became the question they couldn't answer, the silence they couldn't interpret, the storm they couldn't prepare for. Their world is built on noise, on validation, on weakness disguised as popularity. But mine is carved from focus, from scars that never healed, from truths too sharp to be spoken. They laughed when I vanished, but you only laugh at what you think is over. And now, the silence they mocked becomes the storm they can't survive. Because this is the part they never expected. The part where silence doesn't whisper anymore. It roars. I don't yell. I move. I don't warn. I arrive. Quiet. Precise. Like a blade drawn in the dark. They wrote me off. A footnote. A fading name. A forgotten whisper. But while they scribbled me out, I wrote my manifesto. In scars, not ink. In silence, not speeches. In vengeance, not validation. Their stage was noise. Mine is consequence. They filled rooms with echoes. I filled graves with lessons. Because I didn't come to be seen. I came to be remembered. They thought I needed attention. What I needed was alignment. What I craved was impact. And now, I don't need applause. I make the earth go still. I make the liars choke on their own echoes. I make the cowards tremble before the silence they mocked. They wanted me silent. Now my silence screams louder than their lies ever could. I don't burn bridges. I torch kingdoms. I don't climb ladders. I break ceilings with my spine and build thrones from the wreckage. This is no comeback. This is coronation. This isn't a reply. It's a rewriting. Because they buried me under their noise. They danced on my stillness. They threw dirt on a body that refused to stay dead. And when I rise, I don't knock. I break the silence they buried me in. And I bring with me every scream I ever swallowed, every scar I ever hid, every moment they thought I was gone. This is the roar beneath the silence, and it doesn't ask for mercy. It demands history. They thought they were writing my ending. They didn't realize I was just sharpening the pen. They called it silence, but it was a prologue. Because legends don't announce themselves, they arrive. And when they do, The world doesn't cheer, it quiets. I didn't rise to be loved, I rose to be undeniable. I don't need statues, I don't need songs. I need nothing, because I became everything they tried to erase. I didn't need to scream, because now the world listens to my shadow. They feared the sound of my voice. Now they fear the echo of my silence. While they chased fame, I carved legacy. While they begged to be remembered, I became unforgettable. I didn't return to explain, I returned to reign. They speak my name now, but softer, slower, like it carries weight they can't hold anymore. Because when you become something they can't destroy, they start pretending they helped build you. They didn't. They tried to bury me. All they did was plant a storm, and I bloomed in fire. No, I don't carry hate. I carry history. I carry the silence they gave me, polished into a crown, sharpened into a blade, etched into time. They wanted me silent, so I gave them silence. The kind that never fades, the kind that roars without sound, the kind that turns ashes into thrones. I became a silence that screams, eternal.